Dan, nice to see you again.
Good to see you again, Alex.
So, after our Farlows event, which was a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, down in London.
Down in London. Peter from Farlows and you got together and suggested that what would be good was to try and get everybody together at some point in the future to have a bit more of a chat about what it is that the impact of the dam in this local area in Betws y Coed.
Yeah, it's just really nice. I think we can discuss it better being at the river, seeing the river. It's hard to describe somewhere like this, that the fact that it's so beautiful and how it means so much to so many members of the community, to the fishermen. We've got kids swimming in the river just up there in the summer, and in the winter when the river's high and it's powerful, you've got the kayakers that travel here from all over the country as well. It's such a beautiful spot that means a lot, not just to us in Betws y Coed, and not just to us at Save the Conwy, and not just to the fishermen, but being in a national park, it's a spot that's important for the whole country to come and enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. I mean, I've run around here and I've climbed around here. I know this area as well. And I think from the first time that you got in touch with us and talked to us about the project that's happening around here, then you would think that such a beautiful spot would be protected.
Yeah, and not just protected for its beauty, and not just protected because people want to do recreation here, and not just protected because Betws y Coed relies almost entirely on tourism. In fact, Snowdonia National Park, adventure tourism, outdoor tourism, wild tourism is one of the biggest earners for the whole area, but also because ecologically, this is such an important area. This is a migratory sea trout and salmon river. In this pool here, we've got films of lamprey living, which are a protected European species. Just seen a heron just fly off 2 seconds ago. There are otter, there are horseshoe bat. The gorge just upstream, which will be most affected, the Fairy Glen Gorge there, is now ranked within the top 10 sites in the UK for rare ravine bryophyte and lower plant life. It's a really special place, and that's the main reason to protect it, not just because we enjoy it, but because it's such an ecological keystone in the whole area.
Yeah.
It's such an important part of the ecology of the whole national park, having a proper free-flowing river system in place, with all the habitats that it supports. So
the dam that's due to go in here is just 500 metres through there.
Well, no, this will be the outlet for the dam.
Yeah.
So the dam's going to go in 2 kilometres upstream. There's a really famous waterfall called the Conwy Falls, which is one of the top tourist attractions. It's really beautiful, and it's been beautiful and a tourist attraction since Victorian times. It's part of the reason the old train line's here, because the Victorians used to come and visit it. The dam will go in above that, and a pipeline will run for over 2 kilometres back down, and it will re-enter the river just behind us there. The outlet where it re-enters the river will be a 3-metre high metal structure, 18 metres long, with stone buttressing on either side, just sitting in that bank there. And built just above it on the bank, in that area of protected ancient woodland, is going to be the powerhouse. So the water that's taken out of the river here, up to 80% of the flow above a tiny compensation flow during winter levels, will flow all the way through the pipe and re-exit the river here. The river that should have been coming out just up, the water that should have been coming out just upstream there, is instead going to be coming out of a massive metal grill.
So when we were talking before, you mentioned that the river splits in two here. We've got one river that goes off that way.
Yeah, that's the Conwy to be affected, and this one's the River Cledda. The River Cledda is a really important fish river as well, mostly for sea trout, and the Conwy is important for sea trout, but also for salmon as well. The salmon migrate up the Conwy mostly. One of the big worries is that when migratory fish want to move, they wait for river levels to come up so they can swim. And river levels downstream of the outlet will come up, they'll spike, and the fish will start to move. But once they move beyond that grill, and they get to this pool here, the water won't be coming out the river anymore, it's going to be coming out the grill. So the fish will have moved for their migration, and then be stuck in this pool. They won't have the old historical cues of river flow and scent coming out the river. Yeah. It'll be coming out of this metal grill structure instead, and it can affect the whole migration of the salmon species, which is such an important keystone for the whole ecology of the area. The salmon also affect lamprey, because lamprey are a kind of a dependent species on the salmon. Yeah. Lamprey are endangered on a world level. And that's not the only ecological impact of putting that dam in. We're worried about sediment transfer being blocked coming down the river, which provides the gravel beds for lower down spawning species, and provides the silt that comes down and the invertebrates that come downstream and form part of the ecology of this pool and the rest of the river.
You mentioned before about 80% of the river flow from this river here will be diverted. What do you think the effect will be on this pool that we're sat by now?
I mean, it's very difficult to quantify it exactly because it depends on how much water is coming down each river at each time, and it also depends on how high the river is, because that 80% goes up to a level of 6 cumex, and after that it'll be capped. So you've got to look at it. It's very difficult to predict, but you could say at a worst case scenario, you're going to be looking at 40% lower water levels in this pool here, which would be a significant difference. This deep pool now, we've been watching trout jumping here. Some of the guys have been trying to catch some, not had any success yet, but it's early days. A 40% drop in the flow of the river here, the water coming through this pool here will have a massive difference. And not just because we're talking about less water, but we're talking about reduction in the frequency of the higher flows that come through, clean out the rubbish from the river, clean out the debris. If any farm waste ends up in the river from any unfortunate spills upstream, that will tend to pool more, it won't be washed through. The mosses that live on the rocks rely on these higher spikes of water to wash away and abrade away more common fast-growing mosses and allow the rarer, more important bryophytes and smaller plant species to get a foothold and not be overgrown in these cases. And that's part of the reason that rivers like this, these slightly flashy rivers, the rivers that come up and down so quick, are so important for lower plant life and the invertebrates and things that live around that sort of cycle of high and low flows that we get. We live in rainy Wales, we get that right through the summer. It isn't just a winter event here. And those higher summer flows, they'll be ironed out. The caps will be taken off these spiky flows by the hydro scheme, and it will prevent that natural cycle from happening.
So you were looking, when we were chatting earlier, we were talking about, it's not just the effect that's here. You're obviously a kayaker, but you're talking very knowledgeably about all the fish species that live in here. So I know from a personal connection to this area, then this is something that you and the team that are campaigning against this, Save the Conwy, are very passionate about supporting and protecting. Then we were concerned about almost what do we do next, because there is a likelihood that this project may go ahead, which we're obviously disappointed about if that does happen. But what's the worry about the larger impact, if you like?
We're looking at a slew of hydro schemes going in the national park at the moment. Some of them are fine, some of them have limited ecological impact, some of them are in areas of old slate mining. They're fantastic. Some of them are in travelling through triple SIs like this one. Some of them are in areas of special areas of conservation, SACs, which are an even higher protected status. And there doesn't seem to be any joined up policy. They're just going in wholesale everywhere. The notion that these hydro schemes are providing green energy is something that needs to be overcome. They need to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. And we'd ask people to have a look at our website at savetheconwy.com. It's an organisation made of kayakers like myself, of the local fishermen in the area, of the local business people in the area, people who love the river. And I think it just to start to learn more about it and follow our campaign that way. But also what we want people to do is get out and enjoy their own rivers, wherever they are. Have a little wild adventure on your river where you are. These wild adventures need protecting. Go out, enjoy your river, fish your river, swim in your river, kayak on your river. Just sit by your river and enjoy it, and see how important these places are to the well-being of our country, of the planet, and the well-being of ourselves. And get out there and enjoy them, and learn to protect them yourself.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Alex.
Let's
Thank
go
you.
Fishing and kayaking.
Yeah.